Walters is open late and a great spot to watch the final rounds of the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs. Walters Sports Bar and Restaurant is located just across the street from Nationals Park.
From lashes for days with the viral Liquid Lash Extensions mascara to lift and color from their brilliant eye brightener, Thrive Causemetics is the go-to for amplifying everyday looks. Plus, every product is 100% vegan, cruelty-free, and made with clean, skin-loving ingredients that work with your skin. Amplify your everyday. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/shine26 for an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/shine26.
The lead for Wood at first being held by Groover, and the pitch swung on, hit in the air to left center field and deep. Troy going back, Waldschmidt going back onto the warning track, looking up, and it is gone. Goodbye. Bang, zoom goes Curtis Mead with a home run to deep left center field here at Chase Field. And just like last night, the leadoff base runner followed by a two-run homer. And it's the Nationals 2 and the Diamondbacks nothing.
The lefty rocks and fires, and a fly ball well hit to left for Cruz. Back to the wall is Troy looking up, and there it goes. It is deep and long gone, about 10 rows into the seats. A shot for Dylan Cruz, his second homer of the year, and a key insurance run home. Nationals 3, Diamondbacks 1. Cruz crushes an elevated fastball. He needed that. Dylan had been 1 for his previous 20, but after a first pitch fastball, demolished that one deep into the seats.
The right intercepts. Here's the pitch. Swinging a ground ball hit hard past the sliding Marte. Base hit into right field. Rounding third. Heading home is Cruz. Throw to the plate. Going to be close. He's in there with a head first dive. Throw to third. Lyle dives in safe there. It's a single to right, an RBI for Nuñez, scoring Cruz. Lyle to third, and the Nationals and a run here in the ninth. It's now Washington 5 and Arizona 1.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. I'm joined by Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. He's at Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. The Nats now are 7-2-1 over their last 10 series, with the 2 series losses coming against the Miami Marlins of all teams, but a 6-1 win at the Arizona Diamondbacks on Saturday in Game 2 of a 3-game series. This off the 14-1 win at the Diamondbacks late night on Friday night. So the Nats already have won the series and now are back above 500 in MLB's 2026 regular season, 33-32 with a run differential of +8, 21-12 on the road versus 12-20 at home. The Diamondbacks now are 33-31, including 20-14 at home, as the Nats so far in this series are having their way with a team in Arizona that has been really good at home. It is good to have you with us. So we have a website that we invite you to check out, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt, and a new batch of Nats Chat Podcast t-shirts has arrived. Both blue and red have been restocked. We appreciate the support very much. The website again is natschatpodcast.com. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by Mason Kalfas, the top legal recruiter in Washington, D.C. Mason has been with us since our first season. You can reach him at 202-486-3535. So much to like from the Nats on Saturday. Home runs from Dylan Cruz and Curtis Mead. Zack Littell had another good outing. The Nats bullpen was great, but regarding the offense as a whole, so consider this. You likely know by now, the Nats are number 1 in MLB in runs scored, that run total now at 351. What's also the case is that the Nats are number 1 in MLB in first inning runs at 51. 2 first inning runs late night on Friday night, 2 more first inning runs on Saturday. And these first inning ambushes have come against good starting pitching. Mark, the Nats so far having a terrific series, and they, in each game, have been good from the get-go. Really have been in control of both of these games in their entireties.
Identical starts to both of these games. Leadoff guy gets on, James Wood. It was a walk on Friday night. It was a single on Saturday afternoon. And then the next batter, home run, 2-run lead. Luis Garcia on Friday, Curtis Mead on Saturday. You can't ask for anything better than that of how to get things started. And it has been a point of emphasis for them. And they've credited the pre-game preparation, the scouting report and the pre-game meetings they have in coming up with a game plan for the opposing starter. And I've heard multiple guys say they feel like they take the field and have a good idea of what they're facing on that day and what their plan of attack is going to be against him. And the results obviously back that up. I think a lot of credit has to be given here to the organization and their planning and strategy heading into each game, and then on the players for taking that information they're getting and being able to apply it right from the get-go in the first inning. It sets such a positive tone for these games, and you can tell they feed off this stuff when they know they're out in front. It's like they play much looser.
It's another example of the Nats' new process paying immediate dividends, that this team has a leg up on competition game in, game out. I mean, if I am an opposing team at this point, one of the things that I'm talking about going into a series against the Nats is win the first inning, because the Nats so often are winning first innings in games. And, that is the kind of thing. I mean, look, you can overcome being down in the first inning. We understand that. But man, I mean, you talk about like setting a tone. You talk about putting the starting pitcher in a rough spot, having to throw a bunch of pitches in the first inning. Really good to see that. And, I mentioned against whom the Nats are doing what they're doing in these first innings in this series so far. So Friday night, Merrill Kelly not overall having a good season, but he had been pitching well, came into the game ERA 2.36 over his last 5 games, all starts. He on Friday night allowed 7 runs in 5 innings. And the opposing starting pitcher on Saturday was Eduardo Rodriguez, who had been one of the best pitchers in the majors so far this season, came into the game with an ERA of 2.24 over 12 games, all starts in this regular season, allowed 4 runs in 6 and a third innings, did have 5 strikeouts versus 1 walk. I mean, it's not like he had, a blow-up start, but to get on him early like that off the great success that he had been enjoying, that was so satisfying to see that from the Nats in this game.
Well, yeah, and you saw how Rodriguez settled in after that. He didn't hardly give up anything else until the 7th inning. So that was important, that early ambush, and maybe he made some adjustments after that to keep him, in check. So, like I said, I think there is something to be said for the plan of attack they're coming in with. They have a scouting report. They seem to know what the opposing pitcher is going to try to do, and they tell their hitters, okay, here are your strengths. Here's what to look for. Curtis Mead said that he was particularly looking for something on the inner third of the plate. He got it. He turned on it, crushed the ball to left center field for that 2-run homer. It also helps a lot. Al, we're talking about first inning success. It helps when your leadoff hitter is one of the best hitters in baseball and gets on base a ton. And we could debate till the cows come home whether they are maximizing James Wood by having him lead off or whether they'd be better off having him hit second or third where he might drive in some more runs. But you can't dispute the fact that when he's the first batter that the opposing pitcher has to face, it's putting the pressure on the opposition right from the get-go. And he gets on, and maybe he's not driving in all the runs, but he's getting on and giving the guys behind him plenty of opportunities to get things going.
Well, we've talked about how the higher up you bat in a lineup, the more plate appearances you'll get over the course of the regular season. This is a little tricky because we know that the Nats mix and match players a lot, but James Wood is by far number 1 on the Nats in plate appearances, 304. Number 2 is Dalen Lyle at 283. So to the point of, well, why is he batting leadoff? As we've discussed, first of all, plenty of teams bat their best batters in that number 1 spot. But think about that. Your best hitter this season has had by far the most plate appearances on the team. Like, that's what you want. You want James Wood leading the way by a good bit in plate appearances, and he is very much doing that. So you mentioned the homer by Curtis Mead. I mean, this guy continues to produce. He was the Nats' starting third baseman and number 2 batter, 1 for 4, 2-run homer and a walk. Had that 2-run homer in the 2-run first. The homer to left center put the Nats up 2-0, 411 feet per Statcast. I feel like sometimes we take for granted what Curtis Mead is doing. I mean, it's really something, the production he's putting forth. His OPS now is at 845. But the Nats in this game hit 2 home runs. And the man who hit the Nats' second home run was Dylan Cruz. And, there were so many good things about this game for the Nats. Maybe nothing was better than the Dylan Cruz homer, both in terms of what it meant in the game and what it could mean, hopefully, in the bigger picture. But Cruz, who had been struggling, no doubt, hit some balls hard, as we have discussed, but the production just has not been there in this latest stint for him at the majors. But Cruz on Saturday as the Nats starting right fielder and number 5 batter, 2 for 4 with a solo homer and a single. Cruz in the Nats 2-run 7th, a leadoff first pitch home run to left field for a 3-1 Nats lead. And this was some shot by Cruz, 432 feet per Statcast. And then Cruz had a nice single. He and the Nats 2-run 9th had a leadoff single to center field despite having been down at 1.12. Good for Dylan Cruz for doing as he did in this game.
100% he needed it. Let's be honest. We know what the numbers have shown for him. He was 1 for his last 17 coming into that at bat. And on a night, Friday, when the team as a whole had a huge night at the plate, scoring 14 runs, he was the only member of the lineup who did not have a hit, and that frustrated him. I think there has definitely been some frustration from everyone over the lack of results since he came back up from AAA. Now, that said, he has really stayed focused on the process versus the results. He said that's what he was doing at AAA, and he's tried to carry that over into the big leagues. And so for him, even when the results have not been good, he's been much more focused on, did he take a good at-bat? Did he like the swing he had? Did he make good contact at times? And even if that doesn't result in hits, he comes away feeling good about it. Now, that said, when you see the batting average and the OPS and everything being so low, and when you see the entire team putting up huge numbers like they did Friday night, and you weren't a part of it at all, you can't tell me that he's not feeling that somewhere deep inside. So he does need to see actual tangible positive results. And so you could see the smile on his face, what this one meant to him. It's the furthest he's hit a ball in the big leagues. It was perfect contact. You couldn't describe it any better than that. And I think deep down he knew, like, yes, you can convince yourself, I'm hitting the ball hard, I'm taking good at bats, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be okay. You do need to actually see a result like that sometimes to remind yourself, yes, I can do this. I can be successful up here. That one swing to me, that's the story of the game. There's a lot of good stuff that happened in the bigger picture. That to me was the most important thing that happened in this game.
He was all over that pitch, too. I mean, that was just so impressive what he did. His OPS is just .595, even with the homer and the single on Saturday. But we are only talking about 15 games. And I think that's an important thing to remember, right? Like, it's 15 games. I think what's tough is that this is not his first stint at the major league level. And what we've seen has been so reminiscent of what we had seen from him at the major league level, where, like, you talk up these process stats, but the results just are not there. But the results clearly were there in this game on Saturday. So good for Dylan Cruz for that. The Nats as a team in this game, 6 runs, 8 hits, which were 2 home runs, a triple, a double, and 4 singles, 5 walks. So the Nats did go just 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. James Wood was the Nats starting DH and leadoff batter, 1 for 4 with a single and a walk. He struck out 3 times. C.J. Abrams had an 0-for. He was the Nats starting shortstop and cleanup batter, 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts. Hey, are you a law firm partner looking for a better team? Take your 900 OPS to a championship caliber team by contacting Nats Chat sponsor Mason Kalfas, who is the top legal recruiter in the Washington, D.C. market. Mason and his team at Zenith Legal specialize in placing partners, associates, and senior government lawyers at elite firms across D.C. and the country. Zenith has placed attorneys at almost every top law firm in D.C. and New York. And unlike your current firm's innovation committee, Zenith actually built technology that works. Zenith's proprietary candidate app lets lawyers track where they've been submitted and helps Mason's team identify the best opportunities faster and more efficiently. No other legal recruiting firm has anything like this. Mason regularly works with lawyers from the DOJ, SEC, and law firms looking for better platforms, stronger clients, or, let's be honest, a lot more money, because unlike baseball players, lawyers are not stuck under team control while ownership refuses to spend. And if your current partnership meetings feel more hopeless than Mets fans in October, it may be time to make a move. Bet on yourself with the best legal recruiter out there advocating for your future. Call Mason Kalfas today, 202-486-3535. That's 202-486-3535.
Jacob Young at third. Diamondbacks are in on the infield. You have to watch for the bunt. Murillo sets, fires, Nuñez squares, bunts at first base side. Young breaks for the plate. He's going to score. The toss to first and a collision. Nuñez does a somersault colliding with Groover. What's the call at first? A run has scored. Out is the call at first. Nationals lead 4-1, but Groover appears to be shaken up. Nationals may look at a replay. Nuñez did a full somersault colliding with Groover. It's the second time this week there's been a collision at first base involving a Diamondbacks first baseman.
And then there was Nasim Nuñez in this game. He was the Nats starting second baseman and number 8 batter, 1 for 3 with an RBI single, an RBI sac bunt, and a stolen base. Nuñez in the Nats 2-run 7th, a 1-out, first pitch RBI sac bunt to put the Nats up 4-1. But this was some play. Nuñez put down a great bunt toward first base. And then came what happened at first base. Nuñez stumbled and stepping on the left ankle of the Diamondbacks first baseman, Lou James Groover. And then Nuñez did a somersault. This was a scary looking play, especially for Groover. Seeing Nuñez step on the ankle of Groover like that was frightening. So we had that. But scoring on the play was Jacob Young, who had hit a one-out opposite field triple to the right center field gap. And then Nuñez in the Nats' two-run ninth had a one-out RBI single into right field to put the Nats up 5-1, and Nuñez had a steal of second base. But how about that bunt play and what happened at first base? That was something.
Well, first of all, you couldn't put down a safety squeeze any better than he did, and this is why Blake Buter has said many times, the safety squeeze, if executed, is an impossible play to defend. It's going to work every time, and that was perfect on his end, and he almost even, beat it out, as we said. Now, that play at first, there's a little bit of PTSD here in Arizona, because just a couple nights ago, our old friend Ildemaro Vargas and Max Muncy of the Dodgers had a bad collision at first base on a bang-bang play.
That's fair. Vargas, the race is on, and look out!
Oh, my.
They're both down.
And both guys were knocked out pretty good. Now, Vargas was able to come back, and he played at the end of the game on Friday, and he came off the bench again in this one. So it seems like he's going to be okay. It looks like Max Muncy is going to be all right as well. But to see it happen again on another play at first base, I'm sure everybody here is feeling that. And Lou James Groover, who, by the way, has like one of the all-time great baseball names, he just made his major league debut on Friday night, and here he is in game 2. And I don't know if they showed the slow-mo replay of it, of Nuñez stepping on the ankle and seeing it twist. Like, that looked really bad. And the way that Groover went down, you thought this could be a really serious injury for a guy who just made his debut, just had his first hit in RBI earlier in this game. Thankfully, everybody seemed to be all right. Nuñez finished the game. Groover finished the game. Everybody was okay. But yikes, that was a scary moment for sure. And if you're a Diamondbacks fan or anybody with the team, like, you immediately had a flashback to just a couple of nights ago. And you're like, what is happening on these plays at first base?
You know what's funny, though, is Nasim Nuñez is so athletic that he, even in stumbling and falling down, does so in an athletic way. Like that somersault that he did, how many other players on the Nats would have fallen in that manner? Like he was graceful in the way that he stumbled forward and fell.
But you're a professional wrestling fan. They learn how to take a fall, right? I think Nuñez seemed like he learned the proper way to take a fall and not get hurt.
He looked like Eddie Guerrero doing what Nuñez did in that spot. That was something very impressive there. But yeah, the Nats offense, just cannot say enough good things about it. And keep in mind, right, coming off getting swept in 3 games against the Miami Marlins at Nationals Park this past Monday through Wednesday, the Nats in that series totaling just 7 runs. The Nats so far in this series at the Diamondbacks, 20 runs over 2 games, the 14-1 win and the 6-1 win. The Nats pitching in this 6-1 win at the Diamondbacks on Saturday, outstanding, and leading the way, Zack Littell, who was good for a 5th consecutive outing. Yes, Zack Littell is locked in. He has gone from being a mess to now maybe being the pitcher in the Nats rotation who is pitching the best. Yes, you could make that argument right now. Littell in this game, 1 run in 5 innings, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. He gave up just 2 hits, each of which was a single. Did issue a hit by pitch, but he was so pitch efficient, and he threw a lot of strikes, 64 pitches, 42 strikes, just 22 balls. He did an excellent job of throwing first pitch strikes, and that pitch efficiency off the Nats this season, of course, being so pitch inefficient. Foster Griffin, late night on Friday night, Zack Littell on Saturday. The Nats so far are putting on like a masterclass in pitch efficiency in this series. Really good stuff.
Well, I mentioned how the top of the first was identical in both games. The starting pitching was identical in both games. 5 innings, 1 run, 2 hits. Littell did it on 64 pitches. Foster Griffin did it on 62 pitches. Like I said, almost identical job by both of them. What's the key? First pitch strikes. 14 of 19 for Littell. And that rate was even better until the 5th inning when he started to get into a little bit of trouble. By getting ahead in the count, he can then expand the zone, get some chase. We have seen what a difference it makes for him in the last month plus, that when he gets ahead in the count, now he can be far more effective. Then think back to April. He's got, 2-0 count, 3-1 count, and he ends up putting a pitch on the platter that somebody just clobbers. I think he's only given up 2 home runs in his last 7 starts or something like that. This has been really a dramatic turnaround for him. He has become extremely reliable for the Nationals. Now, like Griffin, he's pulled a little sooner than you would expect, given how efficient he was. But Blake Butera essentially said that fifth inning did get to be a little bit tricky. All of a sudden allowed 3 base runners, had to pitch out of a jam after 1 run came in. And the feeling was the bullpen's pretty fresh. He liked the way it lined up. So let's just go to them now and not push this any further.
Yeah, it was a tight game at the moment, and he worked really hard to get through that fifth there. And we had a pretty well-rested bullpen and feel really good about the arms that we had, and just thought that was the right time to do that.
Let's remember, Littell, last 2 starts, 6 innings and 7 innings. So he has shown now that he can pitch deeper in games. But in this case, they didn't feel like it was necessary. And so good on him. And the return to the offense the last 2 nights is obviously the biggest story from the National standpoint. But the consistency and actually dominance here of the starting pitching against a good Diamondbacks lineup, I don't think you can oversell how important that has been, what the job those 2 guys have done the last 2 days.
Well, the Nats at one point were 11-16, and we now look at this team, and it is 33-32. And the reason for this rise has been the pitching. Not that the pitching has been the biggest strength, but that the pitching has gotten so much better to where the pitching has gone from having been abysmal. I mean, the pitching was so bad over the first few weeks of the regular season to where now the pitching now for a month plus at this point has been decent, if not good. And Zack Littell has become emblematic of this. He has gone from being a mess to not just being better, but to being outstanding. And you've outlined the numbers on NatsJournal.com, but you look at Littell since the start of May, or if you isolate it even further, last 5 outings, he has been masterful. And it is such a treat to watch him pitch now as compared to previously when you wanted to close your eyes and hide the women and children. I mean, those early outings were ugly. These recent outings have been masterful.
If I asked you what's the biggest difference in the Nationals between April and May/early June, you know what it is? It's Zack Littell and Miles Mikolas. That's the biggest difference. Most everyone else has kind of done similar. I get the bullpen as a whole, of course, has been better than they were early in the year. But Cade Cavalli has been good more often than not. Foster Griffin's been good more often than not. Jake Irvin kind of been inconsistent before he got hurt. To me, the biggest difference is that Mikolas and Littell, who were just wretched in April to the point that we're trying to count down the days till they get cut, well, they're still here, and they're both pitching much, much better and giving them a chance to win almost every time they take the mound. They are doing exactly what they were supposed to do all along. It unfortunately took a while to get that going, but now that they are, pretty much every time the Nats take the field, you feel like they've got a chance. You're not saying to yourself, oh boy, so-and-so's on the mound today. Well, they're going to have to score 7-8 runs if they're going to win. No, you feel reasonably confident that their starting pitcher or bulk man, whatever you want to call them on certain days, that they're going to pitch well enough to give you a chance. Littell and Mikolas, to me, are the biggest difference right now versus early in the season.
It's going to be so interesting to see what happens with these 3 Nats starting pitchers on 1-year contracts. These 3 veterans, Foster Griffin, Zack Littell, and Miles Mikolas. Are all 3 as good as gone come this coming offseason? Is one or more guy traded come the trade deadline? Could it be that 1, maybe even 2, gets extended at some point here in season or early in free agency? I think most of us assume Miles Mikolas is not going to be here beyond this season. But, a few weeks ago, we talked about the possibility of the Nats extending Foster Griffin. Zack Littell, if he keeps pitching like this, it becomes an interesting conversation of, do you want him back for next season? We've talked about the Nats' top pitching prospects. Presumably will be arriving at the major league level at various points next season, but not necessarily right away. And you certainly don't want to go into next season saying, okay, all of these guys are going to be with us by X date. That's not a healthy way to develop these guys. So you're going to want at least some veterans on that pitching staff, at least to begin the regular season. And then you kind of go from there. But yeah, Zack Littell, who I think most of us had assumed was going to be one and done with this team. Maybe not if he keeps pitching like this.
Yeah, I understand why the common sense logic here might be to say, try to flip him for what you can get from a contending team. And I'm sure the original idea in signing him to that contract during spring training was, let's try to get everything we can out of him and then move him for some prospects at the deadline. And There's nothing wrong with that philosophy. In the bigger picture, it is what a rebuilding team is supposed to do. But think about it this way. Their 2027 rotation is going to have to include 5 people no matter what. We feel confident that Cade Cavalli is going to be a part of it. Maybe Jake Irvin is, although he's got to come back at some point healthy and pitch well himself. And then who else are you feeling sure about? Andrew Alvarez, DJ Hurst, Josiah Gray? I mean, who knows? Then you get to the Sakura and Susana types. They're going to need starting pitching. And so you can go into the offseason and be in the same boat again and hope you sign guys to similar contracts, whether that's in the offseason or spring training. And remember, if there's a lockout looming, there may not be much activity at all until a mad scramble come February, March, whenever they do report for spring training. Or you can say, let's lock that up now. Let's at least have a few of those spots secured by re-upping guys who we already know we have, who have done well here, and you would hope wouldn't be overly expensive either, and maybe feel a little bit of sense of appreciation for the Nationals for what they've done for them this year in their careers. I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but I don't think it's crazy to think in those terms. You're going to need starting pitching in 2027. It's not all going to come from within. You're going to have to go outside. Maybe the outside moves are actually the guys who are already here on, as you said, the one-year contracts.
And if the timeline of the rebuild has been greatly expedited by the surprising success of this season, maybe you are looking at things a little differently in terms of roster construction, in terms of extending veterans, given that the team has been so much better this season than we thought. There's also this, too. I would imagine that Zack Littell's experience in free agency this past offseason was not pleasant. I mean, he lingered. The Nats signed him. The signing was announced on March 10th. Okay, so he lasted through not only January and February, but well into March before he got signed. So perhaps he would be open to doing something sooner rather than later to avoid having that kind of uncertainty for a second consecutive offseason.
And not only did he sign late, but you saw what the results were for the first month when probably he wasn't ready for it. So if you're him, you're saying, I want to put together a good 2027 season. I don't want to be late. I don't want to be behind everyone else. So he may be extra motivated to sign early. Now, a lot of things at play here. There's a long way to go. And as we said, there's a lockout likely to happen starting on December 1st that could mess with a lot of how this offseason plays out. So I don't know that we can view this the same way we look at every typical offseason. I'll just say, again, the Nats are going to need starting pitching from somewhere. If you have somebody here already who has done well, has worked well with your staff, likes being here, and is not all that expensive to keep potentially, I would at least explore that possibility.
And the pitch, swinging a ground ball to short, should do it. Abrams fields cleanly, sets and throws on to first, and a Curly W's in the books. Brad Lord closes it out with 2 perfect innings for his first save and a series win here in Phoenix. A Curly W in the books. The final score, the Washington Nationals 6, the Arizona Diamondbacks 1.
And then the Nats relief pitching in this 6-1 win at the Diamondbacks on Saturday. Outstanding. 3 Nats relievers combined for 4 scoreless and hitless innings. Nats relievers so far in this series, 8 scoreless innings. Orlando Revolta, he on Saturday tossed a scoreless and hitless bottom of the 6th despite facing the Diamondbacks numbers 2 through 4 batters in Corbin Carroll, Gabriel Moreno, and Nolan Arenado. Mitchell Parker tossed a perfect bottom of the 7th, and Brad Lord 2 perfect innings for a 6-out save. I don't think we can say enough good things about Brad Lord and all of the good work that he is doing coming into this game. If you looked at Nats pitchers in terms of wins above replacement per Baseball Reference, Foster Griffin was number 1 at 1.3. Brad Lord was number 2, 1.0. And Orlando Revolta was number 3 at 0.9. More good work from both Revolta and Lord. And Mitchell Parker in the high leverage spot, doing pretty well in this game.
That's the one that surprised me a bit, that Blake Butera went to him, and we know it hasn't always been so kind when he's pitching high leverage spots lately. Now it's 4-1 in the 7th inning, so it's not super high leverage, but they liked that pocket of hitters, as Butera likes to call it. They liked the matchup there from Parker's perspective, and it was a 1-2-3 inning for him. Lord is so valuable to this team. We've talked about it, and I understand why there's still people who might think maybe he should be starting. He's better than some of the guys they have. Yeah, but I still will continue to maintain that he is more valuable to them in this kind of role, pitching several times a week instead of just once as a starter. I'll take this from him. He becomes the 9th different member of the Nationals pitching staff to record a save this year. Here in game number 65, Brad Lord is number 9. Basically, everybody who has pitched out of the bullpen, I guess except for Cole Henry, and we're going to get to him here in just a second. And Cionel Perez, who didn't last long enough to get a save. Otherwise, everybody else who's been here for any length of time has recorded at least one save so far. It has truly been bullpen by committee, but it has worked here lately. They've done a good job.
I wonder if in game number 162, wherever the Nats are at from a standing standpoint, if Blake Butera would put in Cade Cavalli or Zack Littell or someone like that, just to add to that total of guys who've gotten saves, just make it even more ridiculous how many different pitchers have gotten saves and do something like that. I guess we'll see.
How about Jorbit Bibas for the save in game 162?
That would be nice. That would be nice. Well, Mark mentioned Cole Henry, so the Nats did announce a roster move on Saturday night, and the roster move is Cole Henry having been optioned to AAA Rochester. Not exactly shocking. Henry's had a rough go of it, although he did throw 2 scoreless innings in the Game 1 win at the Diamondbacks. Not necessarily 2 smooth scoreless innings, but they were 2 scoreless innings. But what do you make of this? The Nats optioning Henry back to Rochester.
Well, frankly, I thought once he was deemed healthy, after making those rehab starts, I think I even said it on the podcast, my prediction, remember Clayton Beeter made a couple of rehab appearances and then was activated right away, and he's done pretty well. But I said in Henry's case, I would not be surprised if instead of activating him, they actually optioned him and gave him some time to work at AAA. He didn't get off to a good start this year. Very inconsistent. I figured they wanted to see him have some success for some length of time before bringing him back to the big leagues. Well, instead, he makes the 5 rehab appearances. Then they activate him. They pitched him multiple innings several times. It didn't go all that well. Now, Friday night was better, but I think as we discussed, it was still kind of inefficient. It wasn't real crisp. So I can't say I'm shocked that they sent him down. I think this is a guy who probably needs some work, more regular work, and to fix some things. I'm just a little surprised that they did have him on the active roster for a week or 2 here. It didn't go well, and then now they're making the decision. I would have thought maybe this is what they would have done, a week or 2 ago before even bringing him back off the IL.
So game 3 for the Nats at the Diamondbacks Sunday afternoon at 3:15. Cade Cavalli versus someone who we know well in Michael Soroka. And it's amazing how this sport of baseball can work. The Nats can go from having been swept by the lowly Miami Marlins at home to completing a 3-game sweep at not just a good team in the Diamondbacks, but a team in the Diamondbacks that has been great at home. It doesn't make any sense, but that's the way things are sometimes. And we know the Nats have been so much better on the road than at home. And look, you don't assume anything, but Cade Cavalli has been doing a good job here lately. And so you certainly feel at least pretty good about the Nats' chances here of coming away with a win on Sunday afternoon.
You'll take this scenario every possible time with your designated ace on the mound looking for a sweep. And a reminder to everyone, this is an early start, 3:15 on the East Coast, 12:15 local time in Phoenix. And this is another Peacock game. You're not going to be able to watch it on Nationals TV. You can either watch on Peacock, or if you get NBCSN on your cable or satellite or YouTube TV stream, and some outlets have that, not all of them do. They do simulcast that game, but keep in mind when you wake up on Sunday and are looking for where the game is, you're not going to find it through the traditional method. It's going to be another one of these early Sunday Peacock games.
By the way, the Diamondbacks are one of the teams with which the Nats are bunched in tight regarding the National League wildcard standings. As we are recording this installment of the podcast on Saturday night, there are still games to be completed. But as of this moment, the Nats are 1 game out of the 3rd and final wild card spot in the National League, which as of this recording is held by both the Pittsburgh Pirates and Chicago Cubs. So we potentially could be discussing a Nats team that is in playoff position. We shall see, but good things are happening with the Nats right now. So far, a really good series for them at the Diamondbacks. You tell us what you think. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Nats Chat is on the radio Sunday morning 9 to 10 on ESPN Richmond, which is 106.1 FM in the Richmond, Virginia area, and Sunday morning 9 to 10 on ESPN Radio 94.1 in the Virginia Beach area. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
So Young could easily be 2 for 2, maybe with a couple of triples. Here's the 2-1 from Ramirez. Swinging a line drive toward the gap in right center field. This one will not be caught. It splits the outfielders and rolls to the fence. Young is rounding second. He's trying for third. The relay throw from Marte. A head-first dive, and there's the triple. Jacob Young not to be denied. He has the triple, his first of the year. And boy, did he deserve that one.